Greetings everyone, this is David and today's video is going to be about intelligence and democracy's effect on the dumbing down of society. You tend to hear the sentiment often that religion is a tool to control stupid people. And I will say it's really democracy that's a tool used to control stupid people and even to create more stupid people. And I will kind of explain why I believe that's the case. I want to start this video with a debate I listened to recently between a Christian and a Muslim. And during the cross-examination portion of the debate, the Christian argued, you believe in X. Let's say that X is a set of different propositions. So it's somewhat complex, but I'm just simplifying it for you. And the Christian is saying, you believe in a set of proposition. Let's say this is X, and this logically leads to Y. And the Muslims respond to this is, no, we don't believe in Y. And the Christian basically say, okay, but explain to me how X doesn't lead to Y. And he's like, we don't believe in Y. And he's just repeating this throughout the entire cross-examination. He just constantly repeated how he tried to argue how he doesn't believe in Y, when the whole point isn't whether he believes in Y or not, but that his belief, X, whether that leads to Y or not. And that kind of made me question, there's two possibilities here. Either this person is really stupid, or this person is actually smart, but they're just evil, and they're just trying to obfuscate and delay the argument so that it doesn't reach to a point of the argument, doesn't reach to something, to a bad conclusion that it doesn't want people to realize, or something like that, right? But it kind of made me think, what if a significant portion of the population thought this way, right? What if this person really was stupid and a significant portion of the population was literally intellectually unable to connect, X to Y in this case? So I want to show to you a post I saw on Twitter recently about IQ. Now, some of you might, try to make fun of me for posting this because, this is from 4chan, blah, blah, blah. Well, as someone who used to be very into this kind of like IQ research stuff, I could with confidence say that a lot of what is being said in here does match up. Okay, it does match up. So the point of this post, though, isn't really kind of like, I'm not trying to prove a point. I'm trying to illustrate to you common things that you see in, low IQ people, low IQ groups of people. So before we take a look at each of these examples of what this poster claims that low IQ people are unable to do, a brief note must be made with the fact that the examples are very deliberately simplified. A lot of unintelligent people, I think, are able to do do these examples. What they are unable to do, however, is when things get complex and they're trying to connect them with each other. That's where a lot of things get modified. So again, the example I use with the Christian-Muslim debate, I don't, maybe he is double-digit IQ, but even if he's triple-digit IQ, I think triple-digit IQ people are still unable to kind of connect with a lot of these things together when things get complex. So I want to show you the first example. Low IQ people are unable to do conditional hypotheticals. And another note, quickly, is think of these examples. These people are allowed to vote. These people are allowed to have say in democratic matters. And I'm going to be expanding on that point later. So conditional hypotheticals, for example, what did you do yesterday? I ate lunch. What if, how would you feel if you didn't eat lunch? And someone who doesn't understand conditional hypotheticals is literally unable to imagine a scenario where yesterday they didn't eat lunch, right? So again, this is a very simple example. But when things get complex, that's where a lot of people get tripped up. Another thing is about recursion. So let me give you a very basic example. If you're talking about, doing, two characters, let's say you're trying to write a story and it involves two characters and they each have at least one dialogue, right? So let me make up a story. A and B met with each other. A said hello and B said hi, right? That's an example of a story. And then, I'm supposed to replicate that. So for example, let's say they meet again. A says hello, B says hi, and let me tell you a story about C and D where C says hello and D replies with high, right? So you're kind of replicating this, right? That's recursion. And you can do this over and over and over again. So again, let me give you an example. A and B meet each other. A says hello and B says hi. Let me tell you a story about C and D, where C says hello and D says hi, and then D says, let me tell you a story about E and F, where E says hello and F says hi. So the point is, again, a lot of people who are low IQ are unable to do this, even in its simplified form. And he kind of comes up with the conclusion that even triple-digit IQ people kind of get things mixed up, right? Another thing he talks about is time. A lot of people think about the present; they don't think about the past and the future. They're kind of like unable to do so. Really low IQ people are unable to do so. Even like in my opinion, I think 90, 95 IQ people probably can't comprehend time quite well, but sub 80, yeah, definitely is something very difficult for them. And the kind of final point, not the final point, but another point that he makes is that you will notice a lot of really unintelligent people seem sociopathic. That's not because they really are, it's because they genuinely cannot understand, I will say, somewhat advanced emotions, right, with regards to empathy, right? They literally cannot think how someone can feel losing their child. And I would like to add, maybe this is a good reason why you had an eye for an eye laws, right? Because even, I will say, even smart people are like, even normal average people, not smart, but average people are at times unable to empathize with others due to, whatever happens in their life. So maybe an eye for an eye really does remind those people, hey, that's the feeling you inflicted on that person. I'm going to inflict that to you so you can actually know what you really did to that person. I think there's kind of like that psychological benefit to that principle. It's something that just came to my mind, so I wanted to mention. And another thing, he talks about mapping. Not going to talk, not because I can't get it or anything like that. It's just that you just read it for yourself. It's basically that people cannot imagine things properly, and they cannot imagine multiple things at once and connect them with each other. That's kind of the main thing that he's referring to. So people with low intelligence are unable to do that. So what's the point with me telling all of that kind of stuff? Well, again, a very basic question. Let's say and it is very highly the case, that in even Western countries, 20-30%, of the population is unable to understand basic arguments. And don't you see this regularly on Twitter, for example, or on social media? For example, I see people say, let me give you an example of, we should close the borders. And then someone replies with, a white person in history that I didn't like, he did this too, so you're like a white person. I mean, that's an obviously fallacious argument. That's literally not an argument. That's not an argument at all. And yet so many people are convinced by these very bad arguments. And you kind of think, are they deliberately making these kinds of bad arguments? Because again, you look at the replies of some of these posts, and anyone you see with kind of like these hashtag BLM, hashtag ACAB, hashtag love, hashtag your truth, my truth, his truth, blah, 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 like these relativist people, boomers, you look at the stuff they say, oh yeah, the Ukraine flag is a big one too, right? Any person you see with those kinds of indicators, you look at the things they say, and it's generally super low IQ. At that point, you're kind of, are they deliberately doing this, or are they really this stupid? Are they really that dumb? And the point that I'm trying to get at is, again, with democracy. The thing about low intelligence is that it is very easy to control people who have low intelligence, because people who are low intelligence are more animalistic. And I don't say animalistic in an insulting sense. I say animalistic in the sense that, first of all, they cannot use their rational faculties quite well. And so they rely more on instincts, right? They rely more on base instincts. That's why they're more prone to lust, they're more prone to murder, they're more prone to these things. They're more prone to greed, they're more prone to, bodily vices in general, generally speaking. So people who have these kinds of inclinations can obviously be very much easily controlled, because animals, we can control animals, right? We know how to, make an animal do something for us. Even wild animals, we know how to tame them. And so the same kind of applies to human beings as well. Human beings that are not intelligent, persons that are not intelligent, are much more easier to control. And so, again, remember, what is democracy about? Democracy is about every single person participating in the political process and everyone having the right to vote. What if that can be turned around? Well, it is turned around. That is turned around. And in fact, the very people who are voting are the very people who are controlled, not the ones in control. And so politics becomes a show to appeal to the stupidest people. It's about the lowest common denominator. It's about appealing to the stupidest people. And fundamentally speaking, the mah elite stuff. I think these days, even people who make fun of conspiracy theories themselves admit there's groups of elite people. So it's a very simple question to you. If these elites want to have control over you, they want to control financial institutions and national institutions and all of these things. What's the easiest way to control people? Again, dumbing them down. So how can they dumb down people? How can they dumb down the masses, right? Because certainly it's kind of difficult to increase someone's IQ, but it is actually not that difficult to decrease someone's intelligence, or at the very least, put them in an unintelligent state. And this is why you see a lot of social media apps historically have been kind of progressing into things that promote shorter attention span, right? It's all about appealing to the short attention span, appealing to the instant gratification. You see, for instance, news media, when people are talking about self-improvement stuff, right? Go to the gym, don't watch porn, stuff like that. These groups will literally, news groups will make articles telling you that you should watch porn, okay? They will tell you that you should just do instant gratification stuff. And you look at the applications that are released, it was first Facebook and then Instagram, kind of like slowly it's going to things that are appealing more to the base senses, then Twitter, which is all about, short tweets. But then, hey, let's make it even shorter and simpler, Vine and its upgraded version, TikTok, right? All of these short videos, and you just doom scroll these videos and waste a lot of time watching these fun little videos. And what do you think happens? What kind of effect does it have on your brain? Well, your dopamine gets messed up because you watch porn and you just try to get instant gratification. You want to chase more and more and more and more, and suddenly you become an animal, and you suddenly turn into just desiring again the base fleshly things. And over time, it tunes human beings into being completely unable to think about the very examples that I showed you. So I will say perhaps even somewhat high IQ people are at times making very stupid arguments. Is it because they are stupid people? Well, yeah, but they have been stupefied. They have been dumbed down because of the weapons of social media today. And that is what, so, I, for example, get regular criticisms of people saying you need to make your videos shorter. And, that's a fair thing to ask. But there's also kind of like part of that, which is like, I don't have the attention span to be able to watch something that's an hour long, or even something that's half an hour long, or even something that's 10 minutes long, right? Because you are so used to watching these short 20-second, 15-second videos, you're so used to watching them, you can't comprehend watching something that's longer than 10 minutes. You see something that's 10 minutes, it's like, oh, that's so difficult for me, I can't do it. And when your brain gets used to that, again, it makes it very difficult for you to be able to, for example, read a book, right? Reading a book is a very good way to kind of have an intellectual exercise. I read books regularly, but I can tell you, when I was a kid, I could read, an entire 100-page, 200-page book in a single day, right? Maybe in 2 days, just right before sleep. Because as a kid, I haven't gone through this brainwashing stuff. But now that, I have grown up and kind of got initiated into this brainwashing technique from the internet and from social media and from news organizations and all of this kind of stuff, it has really done a very big negative effect on me, and it's done a very negative effect on a lot of people, where a lot of people have become dependent and addicted to certain things about the world, right? Everyone is addicted to at least something. They're either addicted to corn, they're addicted to social media. They talk about how much they hate social media. They get so emotional about how much they hate social media, and yet they can't leave. Even people who have friends, they hang out with their friends and they're still on their phone doom scrolling, right? Those are mental sicknesses that are all inflicted, and they're deliberately inflicted because democracy operates exactly in that manner. And that's exactly why, well, actually, I'm not going to say that because I don't want to get banned from YouTube, but I was going to say something that Molly Meme would say if this was 2015, but we don't live in 2015 anymore. We don't live in an age where people will make videos about refugee crisis and talk about this effect on Western society. We've devolved beyond that point. I mean, remember when people were talking about how much free speech mattered, and then these people still talk about free speech, but yet we're so limited in what we're able to say, and it's just completely steamrolling and just continues to roll and roll and roll and roll and roll. I mean, it's insane. It's genuinely insane. But that's just the nature of things. It's gonna keep on rolling. So you just gotta have to get used to it. But anyways, that's kind of that's the main goal of my video. Hopefully I made my point at the very least understandable. Either I'm the stupid one or you're the stupid one. I don't even think that I'm that intelligent. Speaking about topic of intelligence, I understand a lot of people tend to have this, like, if I talk about intelligence, I'm the smart guy. I don't really think in that manner. I do think that, again, social media, news, a lot of these things have done a huge number on our brain, and it's time we kind of start recovering that back to normality again. So that's kind of the message of this video, and thank you all for watching. I'll see you all in the next video. Thank you and goodbye.